The day the real heiress returned, my daughter was kicked out of the house. The wealthy couple notified me to come pick her up. A group of well-dressed people stood at the door, sneering at us coldly. This kind of cuckoo behavior is truly disgusting. The daughter born from it is a natural-born thief. The 14-year-old girl, dressed in a fluffy princess dress, rushed over angrily and pushed my daughter down hard. Then she ran back into her parents' arms, crying, "She stole my family from me. I never want to see them again." My daughter staggered and fell to the ground, completely stunned. I pulled her up. "Hurry, the cows at home are waiting to be fed." A single cow costs tens of thousands, and we have hundreds at home, too busy to have time for their melodrama. 3 years ago, I had a high fever reaching 40 degrees Celsius and suddenly awakened a bizarre memory. I turned out to be the villainess in the story of the true and fake heiresses, the biological mother of the fake heiress. This also perfectly explains, no matter how I tried to educate her, Jenny remained incorrigible. She never lifted a finger to help with any household chores. I thought since boys can endure hardship while girls should be pampered, so I treated her like a little princess. Of my 3 children, she's the one I've worried about the most. Yet now she blames me for switching her at birth, making her miss out on 14 years of living as a wealthy heiress, searching my conscience. She's in middle school with a monthly allowance of $5,000, not including food, clothing, housing, or other expenses. Can that really be considered mistreatment? Looking at the girl I've raised for 14 years, heartbroken and overwhelmed with grievance, I struggled to suppress my rising anger. If the factory weren't short-staffed, I would have definitely argued this out with them. Ms. Wendy, consider the money we've spent on Sarah over the years as charity. Since my daughter doesn't want to see you, please, I interrupted her loudly. That little ingrate better stay out of my sight, or I'll beat her every time I see her. With that, without waiting for the stunned group to retort, I grabbed my biological daughter from the ground. "Hurry up, the cows at home are waiting to be fed." A few light chuckles came from nearby. My daughter's face turned red, then pale. "I've been working all year round, so I'm quite strong." I practically had to drag her out of that small villa. After turning a few corners, the towering tree canopy obscured the building behind us, but my daughter's footsteps grew increasingly heavy, and I could clearly feel the strain. Understandable. She's just a child. After all, life suddenly encounters drastic changes, and it takes some time to buffer. I simply let go and made a call. "Leo, come pick us up at the location I sent you." My daughter quietly raised her head. Seeing the car approaching ahead on the road, her body suddenly swayed a few times. The messy van outside still had remnants of feed, and drink bottles were scattered haphazardly inside the seats. I frowned slightly, but before I could say anything, my daughter climbed in on her own, sat in the back seat, and wiped away tears with her head bowed. Leo thought his filthiness had upset her, and his face instantly flushed red. Parking the car next to the communal green trash bin, I started tidying up. Half an hour later, the car finally started and headed out of the city. Outside the window, the towering steel and concrete buildings gradually gave way to trees and farmland, deepening the despair in my daughter's eyes. Perhaps she felt her life had been downgraded from the upper floors to the ground level. 2 hours later, as the mountains along the way grew increasingly lush and verdant, we knew we were getting closer to home. Leo dropped us off at the nearest residence to the factory. A small 2-story building, built hastily back then just for convenience, a simple place to stay. About 10 kilometers away from here, there's a scenic area where I built a manor, probably over 10 times larger than the white-eyed wolf's adopted daughter's little villa. Besides that, I've also bought several properties in the downtown areas of popular cities across various provinces. After retirement, I can live wherever I want. After I pass away, the 3 children will inherit equally. Recently, it's been quite coincidental. 3 employees have had family matters to attend to, and we couldn't find temporary help to get the work done. I had no choice but to step in and cover for a few days. Once home, I brewed a strong cup of tea to perk myself up, then immediately changed into my work apron and tall rubber boots. My daughter stood at the door, watching me with numb indifference. I casually asked, "Want to come along?" She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I picked out a new set of clothes for her from the storage room, then took her to the factory on my tricycle. There weren't many people on the road. Most able-bodied folks nearby were already working at my factory. Working in the factory means getting things done, teaching while mixing feed. To my surprise, my daughter actually listened attentively, occasionally responding with a soft, hum. I glanced sideways and noticed the obvious tear stains on her face. feeling a faint pang in my heart. In that memory, my daughter had always been outstanding. Before her identity was exposed, she clenched her teeth and pushed herself to work hard, not wanting to disappoint her parents. After her identity was revealed, she redoubled her efforts, burying herself in studies, determined to prove she was worthy of love. No parent dislikes a child who excels in both character and academics. I was no exception. Maybe you should go back and rest. The daughter silently shook her head. After working all afternoon, holding her rice bowl, she suddenly looked up and softly asked, "Can I still go to school?" I was startled for a moment, quickly swallowing my food. "Of course you can, you must continue your studies." Perhaps my answer came too quickly, too decisively, make her mistakenly think I'm being perfunctory. After working continuously for 3 days, the employees who took leave gradually returned to their posts. My daughter learns quickly and can handle all the tasks at the factory, but after all, she's still young. This is the age for playing. Brandon happened to hear about this. He turned down a job abroad and rushed back in a hurry, so I told my daughter in advance, "We'll go to the city tomorrow to see your second brother. Just get up at 9. She paused for a moment and finally spoke up. "How many children do you have?" I smiled and said, "Including you, there are 3. Your eldest brother Kevin is a live-in son-in-law abroad and barely comes home a few times a year. Your second brother Brandon is unemployed, drifting around both domestically and internationally, never settling down. Oh, by the way, your surname needs to be changed back. I'll consult a master to pick a few options." Her eyes held a hint more confusion. This confusion was different from the near despair she had when she first arrived. After discussing it with her, we decided to change all our names, to completely rewrite that chapter of memory. Mia Green, my daughter, chose this name. On our way to find Brandon, we'll take care of this matter. The tricycle can't go into the city, so we'll switch to a car. Perfect timing to take our daughter to recognize the estate gate at the scenic area, white wooden fences, lush green lawns, round arched windows, and spire-shaped sloping roofs, European-style wardrobes, hidden wine cabinets, marble steps, and luxurious carpets. Everything inside and outside the magnificent castle was exquisitely beautiful and romantic, brimming with exotic charm. At that time, Kevin was getting married. His fiancée was the only daughter of an old money family, so the wedding home naturally had to be properly prepared. The child's father and I didn't sleep for several nights. But in the end, we gritted our teeth and had Kevin hire foreign designers to build it, all financed by loans. As a result, he stayed abroad managing someone else's company and didn't come back to work. I was so angry that I almost severed our mother-son relationship. My daughter stood motionless at the door, her eyes showing traces of timidity. I walked onto the red carpet of the staircase, turned back, and waved at her. "I'm going upstairs to get the keys. Come up and see the room I prepared for you. This house. That ungrateful wretch has never come here once," because every time I described the Manor's surroundings to her, she thought I was trying to trick her into working at the factory. My daughter's dark eyes met mine as she pressed her lips together. "I've been here before." I was somewhat surprised. A classmate invited me here for a birthday party. Back then, I heard them say just the venue fee cost $50,000. "Don't do anything reckless. We can't afford to pay." She pointed to the decorative fireplace on one side and said, "Do you know how expensive this is? About $170,000. It's been a while, so I don't remember exactly." Her eyes widened. I smiled and continued, "I picked it out myself. Of course I know. Let me tell you a secret. This carpet under our feet is fake. We were really short on money, so I had someone make a knockoff of a designer brand." My daughter slowly opened her mouth wide, looking utterly shocked. I had no choice but to take her hand and explain as we walked. "This was originally meant to be your eldest brother's wedding home, but he didn't come back to live here. I thought leaving it empty would be a waste of money, so I contacted the scenic area staff to help me brainstorm ideas. The second and third floors are our living areas. I didn't allow anyone to touch those. The other floors and the rooftop are rented out. The market's been good, and we've already recouped the entire cost of building the house." Footsteps stopped at a doorway, unlocking it with a fingerprint. I turned around, signaling with my eyes for her to push it open. My daughter's bewildered gaze slowly traced across my face, as if trying to discern the truth from my expression. Just as she snapped out of it and prepared to enter, a group of people suddenly arrived downstairs. Didn't we make a reservation? Why are there other people here?" "Must be the cleaning lady. Look, isn't that Sarah?" Hearing her name, my daughter froze completely. I walked to the railing and looked down at the group of children. So it was you guys who decorated downstairs. Happy birthday. The handsome boy in the crowd gave a faint smile with pursed lips. Thank you. His gaze lingered on me only briefly before quickly shifting to my daughter, faintly revealing a trace of concern. From what I recall, he seemed to be an important male supporting character. Entangled in a love triangle with my daughter and the little ingrate, after experiencing unrequited love and unattainable desires, all parties suffered losses. My daughter turned and entered the room, and I followed, closing the door behind me. Inside was a king-size bed that could sleep 5 people side by side, with bedside lamps and a small wooden cabinet nearby, all in European classical style. A classical relief adorned the wall, and diagonally below it, facing sheer curtains. I opened the cream-colored wardrobe. Do you want to change into something new before going out? These are all brand new. My daughter lowered her head, her shoulders trembling. She said in a tearful voice, no need, then added, those people downstairs, they're my classmates. They probably already know about me. I pondered for a moment, then slightly curved my eyes. I'm going to change clothes. Do you want to go down and say hello to them? My daughter went downstairs with a grave expression. While I was changing, I heard their conversation suddenly grow louder. Sarah, don't be so vain. How dare you say your mom owns the house? Why not claim she's a billionaire? At least make up a decent lie. Tina already told us all about your family situation. Did you go help with the work feeding pigs? Holy shit, no wonder I smell like shit. A group of people chattered noisily. They suddenly took several steps back in unison, instantly isolating their daughter. The daughter was thin-skinned, her neck flushing crimson along with her face. No, I didn't lie. Leaning against the railing, I asked, what lie? The long-faced girl standing next to the handsome boy stepped forward to explain, Auntie, you really need to discipline Sarah properly. Vanity is unacceptable. Do you know what she said? She actually claimed you're the owner of this house. Ha 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 ha. I looked down at my daughter, who seemed on the verge of tears. Mia Green, how could you do this? I casually chided them before apologetically explaining, she's only been back home for a few days and hasn't had time to learn about our family situation. Actually, not just this house. The entire estate next to the scenic area belongs to us. Had you told Auntie beforehand, all fees could have been waived. Dead silence fell downstairs. The handsome boy was just about to say something. The scenic area staff suddenly came in carrying something. Your 4-tier cake has arrived. The two of them set the items down and straightened up, then saw me. Madam Wendy, you've finally arrived. Last time, a guest broke an antique vase, and we demanded compensation at the full price, but she insisted on meeting you in person to transfer the payment. I gave my daughter a look. Mom needs to handle something. You stay home and entertain your classmates. After a while, I returned. I saw my daughter surrounded by them, chatting and laughing. With none of the earlier tension remaining, I couldn't help but shake my head. Have these kids, who haven't even stepped into society yet, already learned the boring ways of adults before growing up? Sorry, Mia Green's second brother rushed back from abroad to see her. So we might not have enough time today. I glanced at my watch. I've opened up access to the top floor for everyone. Have fun, and let's plan another event next time. Most of them started whispering excitedly among themselves. The penthouse costs 3 times more than the first floor. Super photogenic. We hit the jackpot. Sarah, Mia Green's mom is treating us. She can't possibly be a cleaner, right? A few classmates had slightly complicated looks in their eyes. Got the keys, hopped in my Jeep, and sped all the way to the suburbs. Parked the car in the underground parking lot. After an hour and a half, Brandon was already waiting at the door early and came over eagerly to open it, earning himself a playful scolding from me. Sly fox. My daughter stared at her brother as soon as she got out of the car. Brandon takes after his dad in looks, with super prominent double eyelids and eyes so big they're startling. Only when laughing hard do his eyes narrow into slits. He lets his daughter scrutinize him. Mom, Dad told me last night his hand was hurt, and he wouldn't let me tell you. Meeting his gaze, I instantly understood. Then you take care of your sister. I'll go check on your dad. Brandon gave an okay sign and led his daughter toward the elevator first. I remember he bought 2 units and combined them, with a total of 300 square meters. It should be spacious enough. So I drove over to their father's place without worry. As soon as I entered, I saw this guy dressed in tang suit, twirling Buddhist prayer beads, and boasting eloquently to dozens of smartphones. The incandescent light beside him shone on his face, making all the blemishes and wrinkles disappear, not to mention the built-in beauty filters on the phones. family emergency, ending the live stream early today, goodbye, folks, with a smile and a wave. He exited one live stream after another before scurrying over with hunched shoulders. Oh my dear, my precious darling. I've been waiting for you to come over, sit down, sit down. After being all lovey-dovey with this person for a while, I was woken up by Kevin's call the next afternoon. Mom, I saw little sister's photo. She looks just like me. Since it's summer vacation, why don't you all come over here to escape the heat? Kevin sent his location and a screenshot of the weather forecast. The outdoor temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. I'm starting to feel tempted. Dad overheard and insisted on going too. Our biological daughter is back. She needs to bond with her parents. Scientific research shows that girls especially can't lack their father's love, otherwise they'll develop emotional needs stemming from that absence, which experts said that this time. I rolled my eyes at him, but I still called my daughter. She cautiously asked, Dad, is he angry? Her father snatched the phone away, fawning like a palace eunuch. Mia, it's Daddy. Are you having fun with Uncle Air and the little one? Daddy misses you so much and wants to see you. Your eldest brother invited us to go play over there. Can we bring Daddy along? A phone call that should have lasted just 2 minutes was dragged out by him for over half an hour. I can just imagine how speechless my daughter must have been on the other end of the line. Just got my phone and a few messages popped up. Brandon, Dad's so nagging. I roll. Brandon. I told little sis to stop listening, but she still feels guilty. Compared to that one, sis is way too honest. After reading, I called him directly. What did you all do? Did your sister laugh? Laughed. Brandon was impatient, went to the amusement park and looked reluctant the whole time. Today, I suddenly had a public lecture and asked her to help serve tea and water. She actually laughed. I got angry. She's only been there for a day, and you're already bossing her around. Are you out of your mind? It really was a last-minute meeting. Some idiot leaked my whereabouts, and those investor fans flew here just to meet me offline after hearing I'd returned to the country. Brandon pleaded desperately. Finally, she couldn't resist adding, my little sister was chatting effortlessly with my foreign friend just now, and she smiled because he complimented her on her great English. I had nothing left to say, but Brandon takes after his dad, always with endless words to spare. Mom, don't hang up yet, we're not done talking. Have you guys made up your minds about that thing with our brother? If you really want to go out, I can drop you off on my way, so you won't have to ask strangers for directions. I stayed silent for a moment, then sighed. If I go out, what about all the chickens, pigs, sheep, and cows at home? Brandon, hire someone. Unemployment is sky high these days. It's just your generation making things harder than they need to be. I took a deep breath, before the other end could speak. Quickly hang up the phone, turning around. Those big eyes inherited by Brandon quickly narrowed. Hee, sweetheart, wouldn't it be great to have Brandon take us? The main point is to bond with the child. Travel abroad, easier said than done. Everything must be prepared before going out, otherwise you won't feel at ease while having fun. Neither Kevin nor Brandon can be relied upon. Someone has to inherit the family business. After picking up my daughter from Brandon's place, I took her to the provincial social recruitment plaza to hire people. Resume submissions and online/offline interviews are conducted simultaneously domestically and internationally, hoping to recruit a few capable managers. Upon arriving at the venue, the organizer's promotional image nearly made me faint. While others adopt minimalist business styles, our factory's aesthetic is overly realistic. 2 live pigs face the camera, grinning eerily at everyone. I pressed my fingers to my forehead. I must demand they replace it for me, then I'll stay behind. Someone might ask. My daughter volunteered. I nodded briefly and hurried away. When I returned, I was startled to find my daughter surrounded by a crowd, struggling to push through the crowd and squeeze in. Little sister, your family's factory is located in a mountainous area. The geographical location is too remote, and the salary is average. There's no advantage. The daughter answered methodically, Madam. Other companies offer salaries ranging from 6K to 12K, but often only 6K. Our family's business is definitely not like that. My mother appreciates diligence and responsibility, as long as someone is capable and doesn't give her extra trouble. Exceeding 12K is no problem. Our advantage is the rotating holiday system, where unused vacation days can be carried over to the next month. More and more people walked past me, picking up the promotional brochures on the table to browse. Soon, I began receiving interview requests from several candidates one after another. By the end of the first day, We already had suitable candidates, but both my daughter and I wanted to try a little longer, resting at the hotel in the evening. Little white-eyed wolf suddenly sent me a message. I hate you, so you never treated me as family. I only found out from others that we have a manor villa at home. I ignored her. She resorted to tricks and widely spread the news that I was a livestock farmer. It highlights the filth and chaos of this industry. My foster parents' factory is swarming with mosquitoes and insects. Who knows how many bacteria and infectious diseases are breeding there? We stink like feces all year round. And no amount of showering helps. Moreover, my younger sister is new here and introduced others to work without knowing how exhausting the factory is. That's just rotten, leaving early and returning late every day. We often don't see our families. Our children are like left-behind kids. The smile on my daughter's face faded as she constantly held her phone, typing away. I knew what she was doing, so I didn't interfere. After all, my daughter will inherit the family business someday. It's good for her to face society's realities early. These days, the whole family has been watching her expressions closely. The father packed his luggage but hesitated to bring up the idea of going out to play. Brandon monitored public opinion just like he monitored stocks, with 4 screens arranged in a grid pattern. I was busy bringing the few admitted candidates to the factory, urging them to quickly familiarize themselves with the environment. The little ingrates' discouraging tactics only kept the hesitant ones at bay. Those who were truly capable still came. The salary I offer isn't low. Anyone with half a brain would know how to choose. At the end of July, our family of 4 lugged large and small bags abroad to escape the summer heat. Kevin had taken leave in advance and picked us up at the estimated arrival time of our flight, a stretch Lincoln, rarely seen back home. Brandon couldn't help but take a few extra glances. Upon seeing the person stepping out of the back seat, he immediately straightened up and greeted, "Hello, sister-in-law." The eldest daughter-in-law stood at 6 feet tall, and with high heels on, she nearly reached 6 feet 3. She warmly embraced me and my daughter, speaking flawless Chinese. "Mom, little sister, I'm so happy you could come. Can we take James' family photos here?" I nodded with a smile. The eldest daughter-in-law has tens of thousands of followers on her self-media platform and enjoys sharing life vlogs. I remember little white-eyed wolf followed her. Sure enough, shortly after settling in, a message arrived. "Mom, don't you love me anymore? You went to play at sister-in-law's place without calling me. Can 14 years of feelings be forgotten just like that?" I couldn't hold back anymore. "Didn't you say Mia stole your family and never wanted to see us again?" She immediately sent a message. "That was just angry talk. Can't you understand? She's a thief, a robber. She took away the life that belonged to me and made the family who raised me for over 10 years distance themselves from me." I took a deep breath to calm myself down, then called her. The phone rang for half a minute. "Hello, Mom. Do you really not want me anymore? After raising an ungrateful child for over a decade, how could feelings just be severed so easily?" I immediately started scolding. "If I don't call you, you don't call me either. You're really a living ancestor. Your parents are so shameless, putting on that superior attitude. I don't even know if you're doing well there." The ungrateful child said tearfully, "No, not at all, Mom. They look down on me, saying I'm inferior to Sarah in every way, and they even want to bring her back," I declared loudly. "You can rest assured, Mia Green is my daughter and will absolutely not return to the James family to live under someone else's roof. You're always welcome to come back if you want to visit. There's always food for you at home, but if you pull any tricks again, don't call me Mom anymore." The little ingrate wiped away her tears and smiled. She'd been waiting for me to say exactly that. "Then I'll book my flight. You'll pick me up, right?" I was somewhat surprised. In my memory, her parents had repeatedly stressed that their biological daughter must never associate with someone like me again. After a while, she sent me the pending payment order for the plane ticket. "I think I understand now. This girl clearly intends to act first and ask for forgiveness later. She's really taken petty cleverness to its extreme. Since she's unhappy herself, she's dedicated to making others miserable." 3 days later, I drove my daughter to the airport to pick her up. Before the ungrateful one arrived, I gave my daughter a heads up in advance, but there were still a few things I hadn't explained. "Mia, you'll always be a part of this family. No one can ever take your place. Jenny has lived in this family for 14 years, and we do have some affection for her, but that doesn't change the fact that you're my daughter. Mom and Dad will always love you." It was the first time I'd said something so sentimental, and I genuinely felt a bit awkward. My daughter subtly turned her face away, a faint blush peeking through her dark hair. Meeting the ungrateful wolf, the atmosphere instantly grew tense. Standing between them, I broke the ice. Since both of you have changed your names, why not reintroduce yourselves? The little ungrateful wolf loved to take the lead in everything. Hello, my name is Julia James. My daughter nodded and extended her hand. Mia Green. I really like this name. We got to know each other a bit. And I led the two of them to the car. Julia James kept looking at the scenery outside the window and finding topics to chat with me about. I could see her little scheme. After answering each of her questions, I would turn and ask my daughter something. Back at the specially prepared summer retreat Kevin had arranged, the chef was busy preparing tonight's lavish dinner. Seeing me come in with my two daughters, everyone tacitly stopped what they were doing. They were born around the same time. Discuss how you'll address them from now on. Brandon almost got into a fight with his dad. Just call them what we've always called them. Mia can be little sister. It's already second nature to me. Calling by name is too formal. You must call me little sister. She usually just calls me by my name too. Kevin chimed in forcefully. I think we could request the hospital for birth records from 14 years ago. It's better to distinguish between older and younger sisters. Julia James squeezed in unwillingly. Little sister sounds nice. I want to hear you all call me little sister. I patted my daughter on the shoulder and exchanged glances with my eldest daughter-in-law. The three of us shook our heads simultaneously without saying a word. The temperature at the summer resort was indeed pleasantly cool. These days, bored out of our minds, we've been looking for fun everywhere, catching butterflies, picking mushrooms, hiking, picnicking. One evening when I received a call from an employee, I even felt a sense of relief. Madam Wendy, the feed we were planning to use has been discontinued. Now 3 factories have approached us for collaboration. I've sent them to you for review. I thought glancing through them wouldn't take long, so I leaned against the wall and opened the 3 files. Halfway through, a faint sound came from the next room. I don't want to learn all those messy courses. Those teachers always say I'm not as good as so-and-so. It's so boring. You're using the standards for cultivating high-level talents to raise a housewife, just trying to use your daughter as a stepping stone to climb higher. May I ask, what's the difference between this and selling your daughter? The voices in the room gradually became clearer. So this is the kind of life Mia Green was living. I thought it was something wonderful. How blind I was. What do you mean by foul language? I never had a proper education anyway. If I can't even curse when I want to, how suffocating would that be? Heaven hasn't treated me badly, letting me live carefreely with the Greens for 14 years without picking up your hypocrisy and damnable arrogance. The document on the phone screen remained frozen on that page. I'd been listening to her talk, unable to read a single word. After a long silence, faint sobbing sounds came from inside again. I lifted my foot, about to take a step forward. A hand pulled me back from behind. Mom, I know James' family situation best. Let me talk to her. No one knows what they talked about that night, but their relationship improved by leaps and bounds. Though not biological sisters, they were closer than real sisters. They were often seen whispering secretly in their room, even sharing the same bed at night. Approaching the end of August, I couldn't stand idleness any longer and insisted on returning home. Not to mention the pile of tasks at the factory. The 2 kids were about to start school soon. Once Brandon arrives from out of town, tell him to take us home immediately. After returning home and resting for a day, we each went about our own business. Julia James is still lingering at our place. My parents said not to come back unless I admit my mistake. Mom, you'll have to keep supporting me from now on. After she finished speaking to me, she immediately turned to her daughter and said, Mia, I don't eat much. You don't mind, do you? Her daughter shook her head with a smile. Up to you. It's not my money anyway. And so, the start of school drew near. They attended different schools. One was an elite private school with annual tuition around $200,000. The other was a top-tier public school ranked 3rd nationally, costing less than $10,000 per year. Their routes differed too, making it impossible to commute together. My daughter made her second request to me proactively. Mom, can I go to a public school? Transferring schools during middle school isn't too difficult. When the official school term began, the 2 girls walked arm in arm through the school gates. Although they weren't in the same class, they would always go home together. I hadn't been there for more than a few days when I was called back by the factory phone. The children's father would occasionally visit, taking them out for a big meal to improve their diet. Just as I was speculating about James's family's attitude, they finally sensed something was wrong. How could you attend such a school? No wonder your academic performance is so poor. It's all because the environment is holding you back. Mrs. James' delicate brows furrowed tightly. Mister, James spoke more gently. It's not that public schools are bad, but if we have the means, we should let our child access better resources. Take my friend as an example. In 2008, when his family's financial situation was average, his mother applied for an investment immigration visa. He attended high school and university there, and now earns over $40,000 a month. I hadn't given much thought to these issues before and couldn't help but feel a sense of parental inadequacy. Mrs. James curled her lips. Our child will definitely be sent to a good school, ensuring seamless integration with the international community in the future. As for Sarah, if she wants to continue her education, you'll have to figure that out yourselves. The daughter ran out of the teaching building, looking at her former parents as if facing a formidable enemy. Where's Julia James? She's in class. What kind of classes could they possibly offer? A school like this doesn't have any decent teachers. They're all just misleading the students. After venting her frustration, Mrs. James was about to storm in and drag someone out. The security guard stopped her and refused to let her enter no matter what. I raised my hand to hide the smile at the corner of my mouth. Security guards at public schools may be old, but they don't care how much money you have. Without a pass, you still have to get approval from the school leadership. The weather in early September remains scorching hot. Standing idly at the school gate isn't helping. So we each returned to our cars to enjoy the air conditioning when Julia James came out of school. Mrs. James immediately grabbed her. Come home with me. How dare you run away from home? You're so ill-mannered. I frowned coldly. Who are you mocking? You need to explain clearly what the child did wrong, not just start with insults and beatings. It's precisely because she failed to guide them properly as a mother that led to the two children hurting each other. Mrs. James glared angrily. Do I need your interference in how I discipline my own children? Julia James forcefully broke free from her grasp and hid behind me. I don't want to live in the cage you've built, letting you mold me into something valuable just to casually promise me to someone else. Mrs. James scowled and reached out to grab again. My daughter stood by my side. We shielded Julia James tightly behind us. Sarah, are you trying to defy heaven? I've raised you for over a decade, and you've reverted in just 2 months. I'm so disappointed in you. Her daughter's brows furrowed deeply, those large eyes unusually resolute. You've said this to me many times before. I used to constantly doubt myself because of it, but now I've finally stepped out of your shadow. Thank you for giving me a privileged life these past years, for providing me with excellent educational resources. But now I want to say, stop imposing what you desire onto others, all these years, just to bring you pride. To surpass naturally gifted classmates and become that exemplary child. I've been exhausted. Mrs. James sneered coldly. If it weren't for us, could you have passed the piano grade 10, ballet grade 8, achieved athlete-level skills in golf? Don't bite the hand that feeds you. If you dare, yell at me. But do you dare return the money? Their daughter turned pale. Youth indeed lacks real-world experience. I brought up Julia James. Settling debts isn't straightforward. So how about this? Mrs. James didn't notice. Her daughter's eyes were darting around shrewdly. Let Julia James choose whichever courses she wants to study, and I'll cover the costs. Mrs. James was a businesswoman, so naturally, she had her own calculations running through her mind. Give it a try. It's worth it, sure, even after solving this problem. The issue of schooling remains unavoidable. Julia James couldn't resist her family's pressure, and coupled with her own curiosity and longing for elite schools, she eventually transferred. The art courses for the two kids really cost me a fortune. My daughter completely gave up those high-end courses and started learning about agriculture in advance to prepare for the future. Julia James, on the other hand, went wild and decided to study vocal music and dancing, aiming to become a star. I don't understand it, but the James family is quite supportive. Interest is the best teacher. Over the years, my daughter has chosen her own major and steadily progressed toward her goals. She said, the livestock industry may face a downturn in the future, so studying animal science might not be very helpful. Expanding sales channels and finding competitive end products are key. I nodded approvingly with relief. Another child also obtained the highest level certificates in vocal music and dance. The moment she received the certificate, she called me first. Mom, am I amazing? Did I save you money? I kept saying yes. I took the opportunity to ask about her future plans. She said, haven't thought of the specifics yet, but I've got a goal. Another June has come. Both children escaped the fates I remembered. My daughter didn't miss her exams due to family reasons and smoothly took the college entrance examination at a regular public high school. Julia James's entire family immigrated abroad, making it impossible for her to get into fistfights with local troublemakers and end up with a broken head. After receiving the admission letter, Julia James made a special trip back from abroad to attend her daughter's graduation banquet. Holding tiny wine cups no bigger than their thumbs, the two chatted merrily over drinks. I'm preparing for the year-end exams and can't stay for long. All right, come back often, we'll all be here. I was pulled aside by other parents asking for parenting advice, so I didn't notice how many glasses they had toasted each other with. I went back and fell asleep immediately, not opening my eyes until the next afternoon. Julia James left in a hurry on the third day. Before leaving, she told me, "Wait for me to come home for New Year with a conservatory offer. The sky is vast and blue, only appearing limited due to humanity's narrow perspective." The plane streaked across the sky, disappearing from view as it headed overseas. 2 months later, the child's father and I sent our daughter to the capital for her studies. Bending down to check her suitcase, my nose tingled slightly with emotion. Looking up at the vermilion doorposts, my eyes grew warm. This vibrant color should shine as brilliantly as her life. Julia James extra story. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I wasn't my mother's child. I, Jenny, am a rich second-generation heir. In all the novels I've read, it's said that the fake heiress is the mortal enemy of the true heiress. MS. Wendy, consider the money we've spent on Sarah over the years as charity, so I want to strike first and snuff out the sparks she left behind. My mom was even more impressive. She straight up took the person away. At that moment, I thought, she loves me. But what happened next left me stunned. The Greens are secretly wealthy, while James's family isn't even as well off as my original family. I'm completely stunned. Then I think about how my biological parents have been mentally attacking me these days since I came home. They belittle my past and doubt my future. If I hadn't protested strongly, they would have really taken me to the hospital for an IQ test. I'm absolutely sure there's nothing wrong with me. It's them who aren't normal. What kind of bullshit fiancé is this? Far from what's described in novels. Shouldn't the standard be the campus heartthrob or delinquent? What kind of thing are you? An uncle 10 years older than me. All illusions of living as a rich second-generation heir shattered. From 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., my daily life is packed with various classes. Even during meals, I have to learn etiquette. The slightest mistake gets compared to Sarah. I've had enough of this. It's not even as good as my original family. Thinking of this, I had a sudden inspiration. After making a scene with my mom, I successfully booked a plane ticket and ran away from home. The next few months proved that this decision was correct, and changed my life forever. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. During a meeting, I suddenly received a phone call. My grandmother asked how much I earn in a day. Thinking she wanted to borrow money, I deliberately lowballed it. $1,200 a day, she said. I'll give you $2,000. Can you spend a day with me? My heart ached, and I agreed to her request. In the family group chat, my cousins were all complaining. Did grandma call you? She wants me to spend a whole day with her. Such a hassle. She's just got too much free time. Even if she really gave me $2,000, I wouldn't want to hang out with an old lady. I took a day off and bought a high-speed train ticket on my way out of the office. Fortunately, there's a train heading back to my hometown in just 37 minutes. It's been 5 years since Grandpa passed away. Grandma, now 83, lives alone in the self-built house in the county. Uncles built the house beautifully. Wi-Fi has been installed. A smartphone was also purchased, and she was even taught how to browse short videos. I thought this way she wouldn't feel bored anymore. Over these 5 years, she truly hasn't made any demands of us. Even at family gatherings, she would sit in the corner, not saying a word. Today she suddenly came to see us. My first reaction was surprise. My heart was uneasy, fearing that something might have happened to her. In the afternoon, I returned home. There were several cars parked outside Grandma's door. The gate wasn't locked, so I walked straight in. Grandma, I'm back. My maternal grandmother once said she didn't like hearing the word maternal. It felt too distant, so every time I addressed her after that, it became Grandma. Several men immediately emerged in the living room, seeing this scene. My heart tightened. I quickly asked, "Who are you? What are you doing in our house?" They introduced themselves. "We're here to find our relatives." What? Find relatives? After entering the house, I finally learned the whole story. Grandma is getting old and increasingly wants to know her origins. She misses her mother. She wonders why she was abandoned. So she posted a search notice online, and coincidentally, it was just seen by someone. Grandma's maternal relatives were also looking for her. After getting in touch, they came over immediately. They were preparing to do a paternity test. Today is the day the paternity test results come out. Grandma was scared alone, so she asked the family to come back. But she didn't dare to say it directly. She only said she wanted the family to stay with her. She made over a dozen phone calls. Only I agreed. At that moment, I still felt somewhat relieved. I came back right after receiving the call. Otherwise, she would have been so nervous and scared alone. I've vaguely heard bits and pieces about my grandmother's background. All I know is that she was abandoned. She was only 2 years old at the time, left behind in the village. There was a handkerchief left with her, bearing a message written in blood, unable to raise, hoping for adoption. At that time, my childless and crippled great-grandfather took her in. She was raised haphazardly, sometimes going hungry and sometimes having enough to eat. It was only natural that she missed her mother. When the results were announced, I held my grandmother's hand. She was trembling slightly. One of the men said happily, "Confirmed, you're my great-aunt. Let's leave today and tell Grandma the good news. The elderly lady is waiting for you at the hospital." Grandma quickly stood up. "Let's go." After taking 2 steps, she thought of me again. "Mary, how do I look in this outfit?" I had already noticed. Grandma, who never paid much attention to dressing up, was dressed very meticulously today. She had even dug out the brand new clothes Mom had bought her, which had been tucked away at the bottom of her wardrobe. She knew she was going to see Mom. So Grandma had already put on her new clothes in advance. I nodded and took her arm. "You look beautiful, let's go." Grandma was very short, even shorter than I remembered. I had to bend my back to support her horizontally, not lifting her arm too high to make her uncomfortable. We took a car, then transferred to a plane. My grandmother, who was flying for the first time, felt uncomfortable and was especially nervous and uneasy. I told her to take a nap first, and by the time she woke up, we would have landed. She clutched the blanket tightly, her eyes filled with worry about the unknown. "How many days off did you take? Does flying mean we're going somewhere very far away? Will your boss be angry if you can't come back in time?" I shook my head. "It's fine, your matter is more important." While in the car, I had a feeling this might take quite some time. So I contacted HR and requested to take both compensatory leave and annual leave together. It just happened to coincide with the National Day and Mid-Autumn Festival holidays. Adding up the time, I could take nearly half a month off. Only after learning about my long vacation did Grandma finally relax. We headed straight to the hospital as soon as we got off the car. I'm not much of a talker, so I didn't communicate much with them along the way. I briefly told my mom about going home to visit Grandma. Mom called but didn't ask for details. Instead, she scolded me for interfering with Grandma's affairs. "You're really something. Didn't you say you had no leave, yet you took time off to go?" "I already said I'd visit her this weekend. Why must she bother the younger generation on weekdays? Next time something like this happens, let your brother and his family handle it. Why should you, a granddaughter, get involved?" I was just about to tell her about the search for relatives, but she hurriedly hung up the phone. Because my sister-in-law had returned to work after maternity leave, Mom was helping her take care of the child. "The child is young and can't be left alone." I sighed. Such is the busy world of adults. Not even a moment to catch one's breath. Weekends are actually busy too, with overtime work to attend to. Haven't even had time to go out for a walk. Finally arrived at the hospital. Grandma seemed even more nervous. In the elevator, she stood right beside me, hold my hand tightly. Only then did I suddenly feel it was real. No matter how old you are, when you're in front of Mom, you'll always act like a child. Grandma is 83 years old. Meeting her mother who abandoned her for so many years for the first time, she must have a lot of sadness and grievances. Wanting to ask, inside the hospital room, there are 5 even older elderly people. Grandma's parents, uncle, aunt, and uncle-in-law all came, and Grandma's younger brother too. The elderly hugged each other and cried bitterly. "Finally found you. Mom is so sorry. Back then, we really had no choice but to leave you in the village, hoping someone would take you in. Everyone was fleeing from disaster. I got separated from your father and had to take care of 2 children alone. Both you and your sister fell ill, starving so badly you didn't even have the strength to cry. I was afraid I couldn't keep you alive, so I had to give you and your sister away. One after another, you were twins. In 1973, we found your sister. and from then on, we kept publishing her photo in the newspapers every day, hoping to find you. We waited and waited, but no matter what, we couldn't find you. Then, 2 years ago, your sister passed away too, and our health hasn't been good either. Afraid I might never see you again. Great-grandma held on to Grandma's hand. Crying uncontrollably, Grandma stood bewildered and helpless at the center. She could only keep wiping away her tears, holding my mother's hand. I couldn't bear to let go no matter what. My new cousins introduced me to the identities of the elderly present. After greeting each one in turn, I stepped aside, not wanting to disturb the elderly reuniting. My cousins set up a bed for Grandma in the hospital room. Grandma also moved in. She stayed with her parents every day. They always had endless things to talk about. Sometimes I want to listen, but I always feel like I can't really get into it. The topics the elderly talk about aren't very interesting to someone my age. Noticing my lack of interest, Grandma asked me, "Do you want to go back? If you don't have any more time off, you should go back." I was just about to say that taking a few more days off wouldn't be a problem, but then my cousin from my uncle's family suddenly called me. "Mary, how could you be so shameless? You didn't tell us about Grandma's family reunion. Trying to hog all the inheritance for yourself." I was puzzled. What inheritance? Grandma didn't want me to tell them about the family recognition. I haven't told anyone about this matter either. How did Luke find out? He yelled at me over the phone, "You scheming bastard," rushing back to show off after learning about Grandma's background. Don't think I don't know you're in Hainan right now. I've already come over with my dad now. If you dare take a single penny from Grandma, I'll kill you. After hanging up the phone, I was utterly confused. Only then did I notice the video someone had forwarded in the family group chat. The Miller family patriarch has reunited with his biological daughter after 81 years of separation. He previously promised to bestow substantial assets upon his daughter. Wait until I finish watching the video before returning to the chat. The group chat was already in chaos. They all accused me, an outsider, of having no right to accompany Grandma back to her ancestral roots. "Big sis, are you okay? Such a big matter without discussing it with us louse. Taking Grandma there by yourself. Your calculations are way too shrewd, aren't they? So scheming." I'm really impressed. She seemed quiet and unassuming, but who knew she'd be so money-grubbing? Seeing the Miller family searching for relatives. She didn't tell anyone and secretly went over by herself. Exactly. Shameless. With such ugly greed. Since when do you get to decide matters concerning our family? If it weren't for cousin stumbling upon that video, we'd still be kept in the dark. Turns out my grandmother's biological parents weren't ordinary people. I searched online. I was instantly shocked. So their family conditions are this good. No wonder the nursing home where Grandpa and Grandma live looks so expensive. The Miller family's business has grown significantly over these years. I searched for information about the Miller family. They have indeed been searching for relatives all along. It's just unfortunate that my grandmother and her twin sister didn't look particularly alike, so the previous newspaper search didn't yield much result. Marketing accounts said that after Grandma's twin sister was found, she divorced her scumbag ex-husband at the age of 36, went back to school, and later became a teacher at an elementary school. Reading this, I suddenly felt a pang of heartache for Grandma. If only she hadn't been lost, or had been taken back sooner. Grandma always wanted to go to school. She hated herself for being illiterate. She only knew a few common characters. Although she has WeChat, she can't read characters and can't send messages to anyone. The only way is for us to video call her, and she presses the answer button herself, so we can chat. Every time she goes to the hospital or travels out of town, she doesn't dare to go alone, because she can't read and doesn't speak Mandarin. She never felt secure whenever she went out, but the children were getting busier, and no one could accompany her outside. It's no exaggeration to say this was Grandma's first time leaving the province, her first time on a plane, first time coming to a foreign place. It was my fault for keeping it a secret, but if I had really said it earlier, Grandma's reunion this time might not have gone so smoothly. Besides, Grandma herself wanted to keep it a secret and specifically told me not to tell the family. I didn't reply to any messages in the group chat. Give a dog a bad name and hang him. At first, Grandma called each child and grandchild individually. None of them would go, finding old people annoying, finding old people coy, never speaking their minds directly when something happens. Only I went back without hesitation. My filial piety has somehow become my fault, but what I didn't expect was, my mom also took their side and started blaming me. As soon as I answered the phone, she yelled at me furiously, "Mary, you've really got some nerve now. Such a big matter. and you didn't even tell me. You really went alone with your grandma to acknowledge relatives. Both your uncles are still alive, and even if they weren't, your cousins could handle it. Was it really your place to go acknowledge relatives? If you act like this, people will only think I didn't raise you properly, that our family lacks manners. Hearing my mother's words, I felt truly wronged. I looked up. I saw Grandma casting a worried glance my way. She's a bit hard of hearing and asked me softly, "Was that the company calling? Do they need you back at work? You should hurry back." I know she's reluctant to let me go, but Grandma has always been soft-hearted. She's always afraid of causing trouble for others. Even if it were her own child, she wouldn't want to trouble them. I shook my head and pressed the mute button. "It's okay, Grandma. It's just a friend calling, not the company." How could I possibly leave her alone here in this situation? She barely understands Mandarin. Many tasks require me to accompany her for translation. If I leave, she'll only feel more wronged staying here alone. To prevent my grandmother from hearing my mother's words and feeling upset, I walked to the distant stairwell before daring to argue with my mom. How did this become my fault? Grandma called everyone one by one, and I was the only one who came home. If I hadn't returned, Grandma would have had no one to keep her company. What will my grandma's relatives think of our family? Although they didn't say it outright, but these past 2 days, Uncle Bob and the others have been subtly probing for information about my family situation. She has many descendants, but I'm the only one who came back after Grandma called. Their expressions turned rather unpleasant. To be honest, there's an unspoken preference for sons over daughters among some folks back in my hometown. When there's a son in the family, daughters are never allowed to intervene in anything. Take the matter of building Grandma's house back then as an example. Grandma wanted a vegetable garden, but Uncle wouldn't allow it, insisting the workers follow his own plan, paving the entire yard with concrete to make parking spaces instead. Grandma specially bought the seeds. They were thrown away by Uncle. "This is my house. How can an old woman have her way?" To put it bluntly, I'll be living here for many years to come. How many years does she have left? If I'm the one building it, then whoever pays gets to decide. If you were the one paying for the house, I wouldn't say a word. Because of this, Grandma silently sulked for several days. Back then, suddenly, a saying came to my mind. I never thought much of it before, but later, it truly resonated with me. She came to this world for a visit, staying briefly at her father's house for some years, then lodging at her husband's home for a while, and finally resting her feet at her son's place. Her whole life was like that of a guest, until she became willow catkins dancing in the wind, duckweed floating in the rain. Perhaps you've heard of this. Must rural women be married before they can be buried in public cemeteries after death? They must rely on their husbands to have the right to be buried. I still remember that day when I argued with my eldest uncle over Grandma. "How many days do you even spend here in a year? It's always been Grandma living here. Why won't you listen to her?" My eldest uncle completely ignored me, turned his head and walked away. "Even your mother doesn't dare interfere with our family matters. Who are you to speak?" After finding out, my mother forbade me from getting involved. In front of my uncle, she kept apologizing, saying she hadn't raised me properly, while pinching my arm and scolding me for being inconsiderate. "That's your uncle's house. What business is it of yours how they want things?" Both your aunt and I behaved properly and didn't say a word. I wondered, isn't that my grandmother's house? The property deed bears my grandparents' names. Now that my grandfather is gone, doesn't the house belong solely to my grandmother? How come building a house on your own property doesn't even grant you the right to have a small garden? Does your grandmother even have a home? My mother scolded me in frustration. How could the house belong to your grandmother? After your grandfather passed away, the house became your uncle's. Whatever renovations your two uncles want to do is the Liu family's business. You're really too bold for your own good. I wouldn't dare interrupt, yet you went ahead and meddled. If you're married, don't interfere with your parents' family matters. You're lucky they're even-tempered. Any other family would have slapped you by now. At that time, I asked her, is my brother's business also something I can't interfere with? Yes, once you're married, you're an outsider. We're not even family anymore, let alone you and your brother. From that day on, my heart grew cold. I could no longer be warm toward my mother. After scolding me a few times, my mom sent me my eldest uncle's flight details. Hurry up and check when your uncle arrives. He hasn't traveled far before, and your cousin doesn't have much money on him. Over there, make sure to get them some nice clothes. Your maternal grandmother's family is so well off. Your uncle needs to dress well to look classy and maintain face. Don't skimp on expenses. Don't be reluctant to buy good things for your uncle. Oh, And you'll need to book the hotel too. Your cousin said he's broke. All his money went into buying plane tickets. You'll have to cover their return tickets as well. Since we're family, don't be stingy. You should pay what needs to be paid. It's only right to show filial respect to elders." Her words made me laugh coldly. I wasn't surprised at all that she could say such things. When it was my birthday, she would ask me for money, because she gave birth to me. I caused her pain. She deserves gratitude pay, hardship pay, and compensation for emotional distress. During holidays, I have to curry favor with my two uncles. I must bring them wine and cigarettes to visit relatives. Now they're asking me to book hotels and buy clothes for them again. They really take me for a fool. I sneered and said, "Mom, if you've got money, you can give it yourself. My money is mine to decide. It's not your place to allocate it for me." After the unpleasant conversation with my mom, I hung up the phone. I told Cousin Miller and his son that my uncle was already on a plane and preparing to come to the hospital. My cousin asked me for the flight details. "I'll make the arrangements. By the way, could you introduce me to your family members?" "What?" my cousin said. "I want to know how many people around Auntie truly care for her. Is it genuine?" Suddenly, I'm not so sure anymore. I can't even tell if my own feelings are genuine. Grandma had 4 children, 2 men and 2 women. In those days, she harbored many unspeakable sorrows and secrets. I could only observe her from my personal perspective, as an outsider, as an adopted daughter. Grandma was instilled with many notions of filial piety toward her adoptive father. After all, her adoptive father with disabilities had gone to great lengths to take care of her, from a young age. Grandma was very sensible, good at household chores and taking care of others. Grandma had a natural talent for nurturing. The chickens and ducks she raised laid more eggs than those in any other household in the village. The pumpkins she planted always grew more lushly. What I remember most about my grandmother's old house is the grapevine trellis in the yard. Every late summer, we couldn't even finish eating all the grapes in the yard. Grandmother would give them to so many people, close neighbors, good relatives, each child. Grandpa was a very stern old man, but he was hard-working. When he had nothing to do, he liked to work in the fields. He would sell the vegetables he grew at the market. She was quite strict with the children. When he was still alive, everything at home was decided by Grandpa. Uncles and aunts also knew how to be filial to the elderly. After Grandpa passed away, only Grandma was left at home. They all see me, their quiet and kind-hearted grandmother, as a burden. No one wants to take her in to live with them. Before, their excuse was that Grandma talked too much and always liked to lecture her children. Work is already stressful enough. They don't want to listen to her nagging. After learning this, Grandma became even more silent. She felt that her children didn't like her when she nagged. If she stopped nagging, maybe they would like her more. Perhaps then they would visit home more often. But it didn't. The children discussed it and decided to let her live in the county town. Your grandmother has never lived in an apartment building her whole life. It would definitely be inconvenient for her in the city. The village is so much better. All the neighbors are familiar, and we're right in the center of the county. Everything is convenient. The city can't compare to the village. Mom is already used to it here. They think that although our village is an urban village, it's located on the main street of the county town, it's fine for Grandma to live alone. It's much better than those elderly who still live in cave dwellings in the village, but the old house is a bit too outdated and not suitable for living, especially since the toilet is still a squatting one. The courtyard is open air, so going to the toilet requires coming out from the inner room. You have to go down the steps and walk outside to use the toilet, if it rains or snows. It becomes very inconvenient for elderly people to walk. The two uncles pooled some money together to finish building the house, installing underfloor heating, air conditioning, and Wi-Fi. This way, Grandma could live alone in the county town without having to stay with her children. During holidays, everyone would return to the old home for a visit. It seemed like this was the norm in many households. After all, few younger generations genuinely want to live with the elderly. The elderly are also self-aware. Unless absolutely necessary, they wouldn't proactively suggest living with their children if they can take care of themselves. In our family, it seems no one has ever done anything excessive, yet Grandma wasn't happy. Her children couldn't be faulted. The elderly were also very kind, but there's always something that doesn't feel quite right. Better not to delve too deep. Grandma grew increasingly silent amidst everyone's neglect. I had mentioned Grandma's changes to my mother before. My mother said, "Your grandfather is gone, leaving her alone halfway through life, after spending half her life with him. Now that he's gone, it's only natural for her to feel sad. It would be abnormal if nothing changed." but I've always thought there's also the gap left by the children. When Grandpa passed away, the two uncles immediately divided the responsibilities for the elderly couple's funeral arrangements. The elder uncle took care of Grandpa, the younger uncle took care of Grandma. From then on, the elder uncle believed that Grandma was the younger uncle's obligation, but Uncle felt that since Grandma wasn't dead yet, elder care should be shared. After all, he had contributed his efforts before Grandpa passed away. As for Mom and Aunt, because they were daughters, there's no way to be filial even if I wanted to, because there's a son in the family. If the daughter is too filial, people will gossip about the son and daughter-in-law. Even if my mother treats Grandma well, she'd still be held back by invisible constraints. All we can do is visit the elderly more often, bringing gifts and money when we go. But ever since I heard that Grandma often saves the money her daughter gives her, her two sons love to complain about being poor. And Grandma can't resist their persistent pleading. She secretly slips them money. I never gave her money again after that. Truthfully, I've never really understood how filial piety is defined, but I feel that in our family, among all those people who fill the house during holidays, not a single one is truly filial. No outsider could find any fault with her. After all, she had food and clothing, living alone in a spacious, newly built 3-story house with all the necessary facilities. Her living conditions were far better than those of many elderly women, so I truly couldn't find any fault with others' opinions. At this moment, I finally realized completely, growing old is truly pitiful. Raising children doesn't necessarily guarantee care in old age. I still remember reading a line before, why do old people seem annoying? Because the mother who loved them is no longer here. Grandma was fortunate. She had never experienced unconditional love in her entire life. In her twilight years, she finally welcomed her own mother. Last night, while helping my grandmother take a bath, I cautiously asked her, Grandma, have you ever resented your parents? Grandma thought for a long time, so long that I thought she was answering me with silence. Her expression was complex, carrying emotions I couldn't decipher. When I no longer wished to continue this topic, she suddenly spoke up. What responded to me was a relieved smile. Maybe I did resent it before. Which child doesn't miss their mother? I used to wonder why everyone else had parents, but I didn't. I was the only child in the whole village who had been abandoned by outsiders. Back then, I also thought that if I ever met my real parents, I would never forgive them, but I waited and waited, from a little girl to an old woman. To be honest, at my age now, I can't bring myself to hate anyone anymore. Between children and parents, everyone has their own difficulties. It's not something that can be explained in just a few words. Very few can truly say they've never fallen short. It was hard for me to see my own parents lying sick in bed. People in the past had it tough too. Now that I'm a mother myself, I understand. In places Grandma couldn't see, I secretly wiped away my tears. Little old lady, why do you always think of others? Clearly, from my perspective as an outsider, she was the most innocent victim. If she had been born a few years later, if she hadn't been given up for adoption, if she had been found earlier, she wouldn't be like this today. She hardly enjoyed a few days of happiness. Uncle and cousin were brought over. I didn't buy them clothes or book expensive hotels as my mother had suggested. Last year, my cousin's credit loan blew up and he couldn't pay it back. He even borrowed $20,000 from me, told me not to tell the family, and I haven't told anyone till now. Now he's pretending to be dead to avoid paying me back. At this critical moment, bringing my eldest uncle to Hainan, what he's scheming is as clear as day to everyone. I genuinely don't want to give him a pleasant look. When he saw me in the hospital room, Luke, who had been rather reserved, suddenly seemed much more at ease. The first thing he said to me was, why didn't you come to pick us up at the airport? Spent a few days here and think you're some kind of young lady now. He took advantage of speaking in dialect, knowing the others wouldn't understand, so I became quite unrestrained, not even bothering to lower my voice, jumping for joy. You wouldn't believe it, the car that picked us up at the airport just now was a Lexus MPV, super expensive. I looked it up online. It costs over $1 million. We're about to strike it rich. You know, later, we'll make Grandma sound pitiful, make them feel extra guilty, and then we can get more compensation. I couldn't help interrupting. If we do get compensation, would you be willing to give me any? Luke's face darkened considerably. He looked at me defensively. Of course not. You're just a granddaughter. What right do you have to take my family's money? Your reach is way too long. I looked at him and laughed mockingly. What if Grandma's family also favors sons over daughters? What if they refuse to give her money? How could that be? Rich people wouldn't care about such a small amount. Would they? Luke's voice was full of grievance and confusion. They're so wealthy. If they just let a little trickle through their fingers, we'd be rich. I'm not greedy. Even $1 million car would be enough for me. I'm the eldest grandson. Surely they'd give me some kind of welcome gift, right? My uncle overheard my words. She looked inquiringly at Grandma standing by the bed, seeing her son's probing gaze. Grandma's eyes faltered for a moment before she turned her head away. Uncle was angry. He pulled me outside the ward. She asked me carefully, "You're such a decisive child. Keeping it from us is one thing, but why not even tell your mom? You brought your grandma here directly, putting us in a very awkward position. Hurry up and tell me everything from start to finish." Though reluctant, I still explained it to him. After all, he's my own uncle, making a special trip just for this. Much better than my younger uncle. My younger uncle even texted me this morning, warning me to be cautious of my elder uncle, because according to what was agreed upon in the family, my maternal grandmother's funeral arrangements were handled by my youngest uncle, so naturally, my grandmother's inheritance would all go to my youngest uncle. I have to help my youngest uncle prevent my eldest uncle from taking away grandmother's inheritance. It's just so ridiculous, engaging in domestic disputes within a homestead less than 250 square meters. How absurd. I feel an indescribable discomfort. Before this, I thought I had already transformed from a child who carried a backpack to work every day, disguising myself as an adult with a grown-up face. I grew up day by day in my career, but only now do I realize, I'm still a very naive person. I don't know what it truly means to act for profit. When I was little, I heard that two brothers in the village fought over a few acres of apple orchard, hitting each other on the head with farm tools. They didn't speak to each other for decades afterward. I always found it strange. How could blood brothers feud over such trivial interests, until something similar happened right before my eyes. I finally understood. Wherever there's profit distribution, there will be people arguing over it, even if that profit is just a virtual promissory note at the moment. I guessed right. Rich people aren't fools either. After consulting Grandma's opinion, Uncle didn't give anyone any money. Even when my eldest uncle directly asked face-to-face if he would give Grandma some money, Uncle remained tight-lipped about it. "This is my sister's decision. What you say doesn't count." We only found out later. Grandma only asked for one apartment. She once told me the reason. "I've never had my own room my entire life. When I was little, our home had just 2 mud brick rooms, one for my father, and I shared the other with my grandmother. After getting married, I shared a room with your grandpa, and when we had kids, I had to sleep with them too. After he passed away, I finally slept alone. Suddenly I realized how comfortable it is to have a room to myself. I can sleep however I want without hearing anyone else's snoring. Now I can sleep alone. I have my own room, but this house isn't mine. It belongs to your 2 uncles." You might all find it laughable when I say this. Such an old woman still wanting a house of her own. But Mary, how could I not feel hurt when I heard what your uncles said while building their house? Grandma added, "Part of the reason was because of me. I'm 29 years old and graduated 7 years ago. I bought myself a small apartment in the city. At the time, she overheard family members gossiping about me. A girl only needs to get married to have a place to live, so why buy one herself? That's just a pure waste of money. Women with mortgages will have a harder time finding partners. Many men are wary of that." Mary bought her house at a loss. It was at its peak price back then, and now it's dropped by over 100,000. Grandma was very candid, admitting she had initially thought the same way. "What those people said makes sense. As long as you're married, you'll have a place to live, according to our traditional beliefs. The groom prepares the marital home before marriage, but later she came to understand, if I didn't have a house, I would end up just like her. If my husband dies, the house would skip me and become our child's property directly. From being the former homeowner to becoming a burden living in my child's house. The law is the law, but reality is reality. Many won't admit it openly, but the truth remains as it is. Harsh as it may sound, that's the way it is. Grandma envies me because among all her grandchildren, I'm the only one who earned my own home through hard work. Others either have a temporary home after getting married or rely on their parents' financial support to buy a marital home. Only I bought mine myself. When your uncle asked me, I didn't just say I wanted a house under my name. I also said not to give anyone else a single cent. The Miller family never raised me, and I'm unwilling to spend their money. I don't want my children to owe anyone favors either. I've come to see the true nature of your 2 uncles clearly, and I dare not bring trouble to the Miller family. Soon, my annual leave will be over. After bidding farewell to Grandma, great-grandpa and great-grandma, and cousin-uncle. I bought my return flight ticket. The warm climate here is perfect for Grandma's retirement. Most importantly, Grandma's parents are here. Staying here means she has a home. Uncle arranged for Luke to book a seat on the same flight as me to return to the Northwest. On the road, he kept scolding me, "You're such a foolish child. Why didn't you stop your grandma? Their conditions are what you'd call privileged. Just a little spill from their fingers would be thicker than our waists. She only asked for one apartment, and it's a very small 2-bedroom, barely worth $1 million, when it's divided equally. Your second uncle and I will only get $500,000 each." What can you even do with $500,000 in today's society? You're grown up now, you're earning money too, you know how worthless money has become. He went from criticizing my grandmother's assets to criticizing me for not getting married, then from criticizing me for not getting married to criticizing me for not staying behind. The Miller family has a good impression of you now, so you should stay here specifically to take care of the 2 elderly. Say more nice things for our family, so we can try to get some money in the future. Let me say something harsh. They're both over 100 years old, aren't they? If they were to pass, it could happen in just a day or 2. If we all leave now, we definitely won't get a single penny of the inheritance. I gazed at the sky outside. Suddenly, words failed me. Uncle, are you really that desperate for money? You used to always say you made a lot of money, didn't you? An apartment in the county, 2 in the city, and 2 cars. You were bragging at home every day. I still haven't deleted those chat records. How come you're suddenly short on money these days, so eager to take advantage? When they were young, they ran businesses and drove trucks, making a fortune, owning storefront properties. Now that he's older, he spends his days playing cards at home. How could he possibly be short of money? He just couldn't resist the Miller family's wealth and wanted more. Seeing that I wasn't holding back in confronting him, my eldest uncle immediately became displeased. He threatened to have my mother teach me a lesson when we got back. I couldn't help but laugh. If I'm not even afraid of him, why would I be scared of my mom? I've long been used to my mom's sharp tongue. I only take half of what she says seriously, letting it go in one ear and out the other. It doesn't even cross your mind. Luke called me pig-brained. Is that your money? You're the one who lost my money. If the Miller family gives Grandma more things, we can become rich. I laughed. If you're capable of earning money yourself, why insist on taking from others? If Grandma didn't have this connection, would you just starve to death? Bro, you're already in your 30s. If you've got nothing better to do, maybe study how to live properly. Why do men always assume that an elderly person's property is rightfully theirs? The inheritance law doesn't stipulate it this way, does it? After returning home, I rested for a day, then hurried back to work. It's been so long since I last visited. There's really some work to catch up on. Grandma learned how to send voice messages. She told me that my cousin had found her a teacher specifically to teach her how to read. She has to study every day now, and also write essays, occasionally. She sends me her essays to read. Grandma's writing is very simple, without any embellished language. She writes whatever comes to mind, but it always touches my heart. With my grandmother's permission, I posted my grandmother's writings on social media. Gradually, many people who enjoyed her writings gathered. The most popular one was probably this piece by my grandmother. When I was young, I couldn't afford to go to school because I had to take care of my adoptive father. Later, the village taught us to read, but I only learned how to write my own name. I asked the teacher who taught us to read what my name meant. The teacher said Helen probably had just one meaning. Your parents wanted you to be obedient. Grandma, I'm back. Now I don't want to listen to anyone anymore. The other day I suddenly asked my parents what name they had originally given me. My mom said she was the one who named me, and it was Kathy Miller, meaning soaring ambition. I think this name is much better than Helen. I prefer my original name. Seeing Grandma's transformation, I'm feeling happier and happier for her now. I hope she can always be this happy. Now when I call her, I can clearly sense how much more confident she's become. She often shares amusing stories about her experiences with me. Her uncles frequently call to ask when she's coming back. Grandma said she wouldn't go back. This place isn't her home. I knew she was truly heartbroken. Once a person leaves their original environment, after realizing their current situation, how could one possibly return to a place that makes them uncomfortable? I think it's wonderful that she stays with her parents. At least she won't be lonely anymore. By her parents' side, even though Grandma is already over 80, she can still act spoiled, be cared for, and be loved. No one found her burdensome. No one coveted her possessions, and certainly no one disregarded her opinions. Grandma's worries had long shifted from what to do. It doesn't matter anymore. I hope my dear little grandma stays happy forever. I'll visit her when I have time. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.